Hello guys, welcome back to this video. Now, today we are still continuing with filling the DS260 form, and today we want to look on the spouse information. How do you fill the spouse information? In the previous video, we saw about how to fill the parent information or the parents information, and if you've not, go back and watch that video. But today we want to look how to fill the spouse information. But before that, let me mention some few things. The first thing that I want to mention about the spouse and filling the spouse is that the spouse stands in for the person to whom you are legally married. If you're married to a person and that person is legally married to you, then that person is your spouse. And that is the person that you're supposed to deal with in this section. The other thing I want to mention that is important, there are some people who have had previous marriages, but they ended up separating. That is also important. If you had legal document showing or confirming your union, but you ended up separating legally and you have the separation documents, or you ended up divorcing and you have the divorce papers, then that is important because you'll need it here again. So without much, let me jump into the video. Now, about the spouse here, you just need to indicate the information about the spouse. You are legally married spouse. You insert the surname, the given name. You select the date of birth, that is her birth or his birth, and then the city where he or she was born, the province where your spouse was born, the country where she was born. That's simple. And then when you come down here, you select the spouse address where she is currently living in, and you select the spouse occupation, and then you select the date when you got married. That is important, the date when you got married, and the city where you got married, the province or the state of your marriage, and if it does not apply, you just select does not apply, and then the country of your marriage. And then down below here, this is important, let's talk. Is your spouse immigrating to the US with you? That point is important because you might be the winner and you're filling the DS260 form, but you have come to concurrence or to consensus with your spouse, and you have decided that you will go alone and leave the spouse behind. If you have come into consensus with your spouse and that is the decision that you want to go alone and leave the family back home permanently, then you select not immigrating with the spouse. And by so doing, it means that even during the interview, you will go alone to the interview. You will not need to go with the spouse. So this is so key. What I usually advise, because you are united, you are one, you are married, it is important that you go, the both of you, because if you decide to go alone and later on you want to bring your wife or your husband, it will take a long process, the normal process of filing for a family member. And that will take you a lot of time and a lot of costs and expenses. Therefore, it is very important that you immigrate with your spouse if you're intending that you want to be with him or her at some point. At the moment you have won the DV lottery, it is the point where you can easily immigrate with your spouse. So if you want at one point to be with your family in the United States, always select yes, immigrating with them, and make all efforts to immigrate with them. If not, if you've agreed that you want to go alone and leave them behind, then you select no. I've spoken too much. Let's continue. Is your spouse immigrating to the US at a later date? This also is important. Now, if you don't have enough funding to take you through the process, you can select that your spouse will be joining you later in the United States. Instead of selecting not immigrating with you, select the second option, your spouse immigrating to the US at a later date to join you. If you select that way, then the spouse can join you later. So that is very important. And then after that, you just click save and continue to the next page about the previous spouse. I hope all the information about the spouse is clear with you. And then when you click to proceed to the previous spouses, now about the previous spouse, as I had introduced, the previous spouse only those people that you are married to legally. If it was your boyfriend, even if you had children with him, that is not your spouse. If she was your girlfriend, not married, even if you have a family with her, that is not your wife. You don't need to include her here. Only those with whom you have the marriage certificate. Now, if you had the previous spouse, then select yes. If no, you select no. If you have selected yes, then you put all the information about them. Put the number of spouses that you had previously, and then you include their names and their information, everything. The surname, the given names, the date of birth of the spouse, the date that you got married to the spouse, the date that the marriage ended, and how was your marriage terminated. You just select here and say what it is. You explain other, and then you select the region or the country where the marriage was terminated, and that is it. And then you click add another if you had several spouses and you are separated. Now, if you have done all this, then you just need to click save and then continue to the children's page. That's how simple it is. Nothing complex. We come to the end of the spouse field, how we are supposed to fill the spouse area and the spouse information. Please kindly subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like the video and also share with your friends. Let them get the information before they mess up with their DS260 forms.